Good morning everybody and welcome to the CEM homework review video for block 6 week 4, and this is lesson 7. In this lesson we are going to go through your verbal reasoning homework. You had to complete tests 1 to 3 in your close 10-minute tests book on pages 2 to 11 and puzzle 1 on page 8. So I'm going to talk through how to solve those activities and go through the answers with you as we do so. So to start off with, we had test 1. Now we're looking at close passages today, and we're looking at different types of close tests. This is an example of a word bank test, which you will have seen before, and you will have seen all the different types of tests before, and this is just to give you a chance to practice them as much as possible. So with the word bank test, you have to select the most appropriate words from the table to complete the passage, and you write the letter corresponding to each word in the correct box here. Now, a really useful strategy with word banks is to eliminate your choices. Once you have picked a word, cross it off in the box, and that will help you to keep track of words that you've already used, so that you can go forward. And you can see then as well, if you come to a word that doesn't make sense and it's one of the only words you've got left, then that might give you a clue that you may have made a mistake earlier on, and you can go back and check. So eliminating the choices that you have used is a really important strategy. The other important thing to do is to read beyond the gap when you're doing any kind of close test. Read the sentence with the blank word and get the context of the passage. You will get an idea then of what the sentence or the passage as a whole is trying to tell you. For example, the West Highland Line is blank, the most scenic train route in Britain. Starting in Glasgow, you can take the train line west to Oban or north to Mallaig. The western route travels through Glenlochy and something, Kilchurn Castle, eventually something in Oban. So I've got an idea of what this passage is telling me, and I can think then which words are most likely to make sense in the boxes. So the West Highland Lane is arguably the most scenic train route in Britain, and scenic means really attractive. It's something that people like to look at. Starting in Glasgow, you can take the train line west to Oban or north to Mallaig. The western route travels through Glenlochy and past Kilchurn Castle, eventually arriving in Oban. So you can see I'm crossing out the words that I've used here so that I can keep track of my choices. Meanwhile, the northern route travels over the Bridge of Orchy and into Rannoch Moor before reaching Corral, the UK's highest train station. The train then continues into the town of Fort William, where you might get a sighting of Ben Nevis, the loftiest mountain in Britain. Loftiest, if you're not familiar with this word, is another way of saying it's really tall, it's really high. So that's something that you could put in your word and meaning books if it's not something that you'd come across before. From Fort William, the train travels over the Glenfinnan Viaduct, the iconic viaduct featured in the Harry Potter films. That's something I didn't know. Finally, the train arrives in Mallaig with an expansive view of the jagged peaks of the Isle of Skye. If you're tempted, you can take a ferry across the water and explore the island for yourself. An ideal end to a unique journey. And the other words were crossed out there as well, but it's just because I've gone on to a new slide that they were blank. So you can see I've used all of my words, and all of the words that I have chosen make sense in the context of the sentence. Now, it's really important as well when you're doing your homework. Yes, we want you to be making sure that you are following the timed conditions as far as possible, but do take the time to go back and check to make sure that your answers make sense. Okay, that's really important. The word needs to fit in the context of the sentence. Now, the next part of test 1, this is a little bit trickier. You have to choose the correct 3-letter word to complete the word in capital letters so that it finishes the sentence in a sensible way. This is page 3 now. So we've got these 3 letters here. It can be chai, outside when it snows. That is not a complete word. But if we put these 3 letters in, we get the word chilly. It can be chilly outside when it snows. So this is what we're looking to do here. We are looking to complete the words so that they make sense as a full word. As we near winter, number 11, expect the nights to get earlier. Okay, I've decided I'm going to fit arc in my word. And this word then becomes darker. Okay, if I'd chosen these letters here, the word would have become damper. That doesn't really make sense. Dinner. As we near winter, expect the nights to get dinner earlier. That makes no sense whatsoever, although the word dinner is a word that we could use. Okay, so you have to think which 3 letters are going to go in the middle of this word to make it a word that makes sense. Again, thinking about the context of this sentence. The newspaper team, number 12, spends 2 hours each day perfecting the page layout. When the mist clears, you can see the mountain range in the distance. The competitors were asked to repeat the swimming race again tomorrow. Number 15, despite the price, Jason renews his subscription to the TV service every year. Renews, that's something, that means you start something again. Renew. I watched the mechanic tinker with the car until it worked again. Tinker is another way of saying playing about with something. Tinkering. So again, if that's something that's unfamiliar to you, you might want to use that at another time, and you can put that in your word and meaning book. And the same with this word here, lashing. The boy watched the rain lashing down at the window. If it was raining really hard, we might use that word and say it was lashing. Okay, so this might be a bit trickier for you, but you might find it quite fun as well, as a bit of a puzzle. What can these words mean? What words can we make? Okay, number 18. Kamari draped her coat over the back of her chair. Julia showed her project to the whole class on Friday afternoon. The police were hunting down the man whose crimes included theft. So if I'd chosen these letters here, I could have made the word cranes, which is a valid word, but makes no sense in the context of the sentence. Neither would chimes or chases. The police were hunting down the man whose chases included theft. So be careful. Some of these letters can make different words, but you need to make sure that it makes sense in the context of the sentence. The company were in the later phases of the campaign. 22. Eating in this theatre is confined to the lobby area. Confined is another way of saying restricted. You can only do it in this certain area. Then we had swears. The defendant swears that she was at home on Monday evening. Chris began coating the wall in paint. And 25. The slides were Didier's favourite attraction at the local playground. Okay, so once you get the hang of it, it's not too difficult, but it might look a bit confusing when you first encounter this type of test. So that was the end of test 1, marks out of 25. All of these tests should be taking you 10 minutes, as it is a 10-minute test book. But if it takes you a little bit longer, don't worry too much. Just make sure that you are checking your work and making sure that it makes sense. Okay, moving on to test 2. We're starting with a different type of close passage. So we don't have a word bank this time. What we have here are partial words with some letters already given to us. Now, some of my students do find this quite tricky because you've got to have an idea of what word could go in this gap. There's no multiple choice, there's no word bank. You have to have an idea already. And this is why it's really, really important, as I said in test 1, to read beyond the gap, to get an idea of what the sentences are saying, what the whole passage is talking about in general. So I would start to read. Climate change is a growing threat to our planet, and one that is already having demonstrable something. Climate change is largely due to coal, oil and gas. When these something of energy are burned, they release the gases that cause climate change. It is therefore no surprise that governments are looking for ways to make energy that do not cause climate change. One such possibility is tidal power. So I've read enough here to get an idea of what the passage is talking about. It's talking about energy sources and how they can affect the environment. Now, if I'm still not sure what word is going to go here, for example, I'm going to look at the letters that I'm given. Okay, so I've got, each letter goes in one box. So I've got 2, 4, 6, 7. It's a 7-letter word. And you can see that I've already got some consonants here. So this is really important. If we just take it right back to basic word structure, I know where I've got consonants, I am most likely to need vowels to go next to them. Vowels, of course, we all know are A, E, I, O, U. So I can use this as a clue to help me. If I've got consonants already, then I might need to put vowels in. Or if I've got vowels given to me, this first letter here, for example, might need to be a consonant. So I can think about it that way, and that might help me find out what the words are. So number 1 was effects. Number 2 was sources. Number 3, you might have got this one, alternative, different. Number 4, tidal power uses the movement of the sea to create energy. When the tide comes in and goes out, the motion of the water spins a turbine, which in turn helps to generate electricity. Okay, and you see I was talking here about consonants and vowels. FX. I already had a vowel here, but there we go. I was going to have another vowel next to it. and I've got my consonants in there as well. So if you're really stuck, you can think about it that way, and that might help you fill in the missing letters. Several countries already have their own tidal power station, and others are developing one. These countries include France, Canada, India, and the UK. Currently, the largest tidal power plant is based at Sihwa Lake in South Korea. Most of the station consists of a 12.7 kilometre dam, to which the turbines are attached. The original dam was constructed in 1994, and the power station was added in 2011. It can now create 250 megawatts of energy every year, the largest output of any current tidal power station. And constructed, if you didn't already know, means built. Okay, so the second half of test 2 was a multiple choice close activity. So we've covered already 3 different types of closed passage: word bank, partial words, and multiple choice. So with this one, you'll have 3 or 4 choices which you can select to go in the gap. So you don't need to eliminate, you just choose the word you think is going to fit. And again, make sure that it makes sense in the context of the sentence. And these are standalone sentences here. So number 13, I wish I had kept in touch with all my old school friends. I wish I had kept in time with all my old school friends. That would only really make sense if you were wanting to say walk with somebody in time to the music or marching. But because we've got this word old, it's talking about wishing that they had stayed in contact, in touch. My grandfather treasures the time he spends walking his dogs. That means he values that time. They added a ramp to make the office more accessible. That means easier to access. The key to the flat was thankfully shielded from view by the plant pot. That means hidden. Number 17, Jared took a seat and began to gorge on the chocolate he'd bought. So that's another way of saying that he was eating it really greedily. The train disappeared into the orange glow of the sunset. Obviously, I would know I wouldn't say bruise. The sunset's not bruised. Crimson doesn't quite make sense because I've already been given a colour. Disappeared into the orange glow of the sunset. Susan's face contorted into a silent scream as the vase dropped to the floor. So that's a word you may like to put in your word and meaning book. Contorted, it means it changed. 20, she shivered, wishing her house wasn't so unbearably cold. That means she can't stand it anymore. And 21, the cafe supplies were running low due to the large number of customers. (22) The hospital asks all patients to maintain peace and quiet on the wards. Maintain means to continue with something. 23, add a spoonful of assorted herbs and spices, then stir the pot. Assorted means various, different kinds. The ferry was about to depart without them. That means leave. And the new film is the latest installment in the long-running franchise. Another way of saying the latest part. Okay. So again, make sure if you finish before 10 minutes that you go back and check to make sure that you have chosen words that make sense in the context of the sentence that you are given. We're going to move on to test 3. and then we will have a look at puzzle 1. I know technically in the order of the book that comes first. So we're now on test 3, and this is page 9. Again, we have a partial word close test where you have to fill in the missing letters to complete the words in the following sentences. These are standalone sentences this time, so you have less chance to get the context within a whole passage, but you should be able to understand what's happening in the sentence. Men had to wear suits and ties to attend the something dinner. What kind of dinner would it be where they have to wear suits and ties? And of course the answer would be formal. Men had to wear suits and ties to attend the formal dinner. The Ural Mountains form the frontier between Europe and Asia. It's another way of saying boundary. My uncle is buried in the cemetery on that hill. Carwin sketched out a rough map of the campsite. Number 5, I had to rest for 2 weeks after my operation. Again, if you're not sure what the words are going to be, look carefully at the letters that you're given and think about what might fit with them. Number 6, the dog's collar got caught on the fence as it tried to run away. The wandering albatross has the largest wingspan of any bird. The flu had made me feel unwell all day. Number 9, the Louvre has roughly 35,000 pieces of artwork on display. That's quite something, isn't it? 35,000 pieces of artwork in this French museum. And number 10, contrary to the forecast, it didn't rain today. So that word means opposite. So despite what the forecast said, it didn't rain. So it was in contrast to the weather forecast. Now the second part of this test is another multiple choice. You had to underline the correct words to complete the passage below. So again, you need to read the passage and think about which word or which way the words are written makes most sense. So something to complaints from residents. The council has decided to tackle the problem of littering in Chimley. The decision, something, on Thursday afternoon at the council's weekly meeting. Okay, so I've got an idea of what this sentence is saying. So, which word is going to make sense? Responded to complaints from residents. Well, no, that doesn't make sense there. So I could eliminate, if that makes things easier. I can eliminate here, eliminate the wrong choices. Having respond to complaints from residents, no, that doesn't make sense. This would work if it said having responded to complaints from residents. So the only one left that does make sense is this word here, responding. Responding to complaints from residents, the council has decided to tackle the problem of littering in Chimley. So another useful thing here is to look at the tense of the sentence. The council has decided. This is present tense. So responding works because this is also present tense. The decision was made on Thursday afternoon at the council's weekly meeting. The scheme will involve placing more bins on the streets around the town, as well as fining those people who continue to flout the littering rules. Misuse of apostrophe here, so that would be incorrect. We needed the plural, streets, many streets around the town, and again, misuse of an apostrophe. So that left us with this as our correct choice. Some people are unsure whether the scheme will work, but the council forecasts that the measures will lead to 50% less litter on the roads of the town. Chimley has been blighted by litter for months. Some residents attribute this ongoing problem to the new shopping centre, which has created more rubbish for customers to throw away. So that means some residents have said that this problem is because the new shopping centre has been built. That's what this word means here, attribute. Local council leader Margaret Hopper told the Chimley and Gordon Post that she was confident that the measures will have a positive impact. Confident, this word here, it is a word, but it has a different meaning. It means somebody that you might confide in. You might tell them about a problem that you have or a secret, and they would be your confidant. Okay, so confident was the word here. We believe these plans will have a dramatic and immediate effect on the amount of litter on Chimley's streets, Hopper said. So it had to be effect because affect is the verb. To affect something or somebody. As a noun, we're talking about the effect of. And effect to doesn't make sense. So it was effect on the amount of litter on Chimley's streets. So I hope you have found that helpful, practicing the close passages. Oh, we haven't quite finished this test, so we'll just finish the last few. I thought we were going straight onto the puzzle. I was getting keen. Some people are more sceptical. That means they don't quite believe that it will work. Jim Tarrant of Chimley's Neighbourhood Association said that the new plans had come too late to deal with the issue. Be careful here. Homophones, too. We need double O. Tarrant said this should have been tackled weeks ago when the problem began. Don't ever do this. Should of. That's one of my pet hates as a teacher, I have to say. Should have is a contraction of should have. And that's why it sounds like should have when you say it, but it's because we've got an apostrophe here and we have contracted the two words should and have together to make should have. Should have been tackled weeks ago when the problem began. Okay, well done everyone. We're nearly finished now. We've done all the close tests, so I hope that review has been helpful to you. And we're just going to finish off with puzzle number 1, which was on page 8 of your book, Canine Conundrum. Here you had to draw a line between each dog and their correct owner so that the letters joined together to make a new word. The letters on each dog form the start of the word, and the letters on each owner form the end of the word. But each owner may have more than one dog. So we've got the lines here drawn for you, and I've also written down what the words became. So there were 10 words for you to find. This owner here, she or he, I can't quite tell, has been kept very busy with 3 dogs. Look, unwise, praise, and devise. This person here has 2 dogs, piracy and legacy. This person here has 2 as well, active and arrive. This person here also has 2 to make vanish and punish. And this person here only has 1 dog to contend with, and this has made the word broken. So again, if there are any words here that you are not sure of the meaning, then please do make sure that you write them in your word and meaning book so that you've got your own personal dictionary with you. Well done, everybody. As I said, I hope that you have found that very helpful. And a big well done if you've completed the You Could problem solving activities as well. Any questions, then please do contact the office or email your tutor, and I will see you next time.